Hey everyone, Sam Thornton here again from Sport and Training and Fitness. Just a very quick video on the appropriate way to stretch the hip flexors if you should at all. I spend a lot of time with my athletes going over this area with them because the whole anterior compartment of the hip, especially with rugby players and the like, and anything that involves high speed running, acceleration, change of direction, this anterior hip does take a lot of load and can get stiff. Not to mention with the amount of sitting and degenerative postural exercises, quote unquote, sitting on the sofa playing PlayStation or laptops, etc., that modern society dictates with us. This area also gets quite tight. So a little bit of anatomy. We've got the main psoas group, which basically attaches in the spine, posterior hip, runs through to the front of the hip, just on a diagonal plane there. And a lot of the time when people go to stretch this area, they lunge out, they just push their hip forward and they create a massive crease and big shift into this back. Whilst you do feel a stretch, you're not actually aligning yourself properly, and you're not actually doing any justice to create any sort of stretching at all. Now, if you are to do this, and if it is the right thing for you to do at the time, what you need to do is establish a very solid 90 degrees at both legs. Okay, then what you're going to do is work on pelvic tucking. So you can tuck your pelvis underneath by engaging your abs, squeezing your glutes, and then you're just going to try and elongate the spine and slightly weight shift forward. Okay, what that's going to do is going to create optimal centration, and it's also going to help you actually stretch through that anterior side of the body properly. Progressions on from that is that you can tuck, you can center, you can align, you can get tall, you can then raise the hands over the head. You can also create a lateral shift, lateral flexion. It's going to help again open that hip flexor with the attachment into the ribs and spine. Okay, and then you can also provide some rotation, just get a little bit into the QL, again functionally open up that side. Now, as an adjunct to that, the reason why a lot of people will get specific overload into those hip flexors is not because they're tight, it's because they're weak. It's because their pelvis is weak and their natural hip stability is off, it's out of whack. And there's a lot of exercises that you can do for this. And so therefore my advice would not necessarily to actually be to stretch your hip flexors, it's to get them stronger, but to get the whole hip complex stronger, strengthening through the transverse abdominis, the deep core layer muscles, which I have a YouTube playlist dedicated to that, which is going to be in the links, to push yourself on. Because if your joint is not aligned properly through the length tension relationships via front or the back, anterior posterior or medially laterally, along with the diagonal nature of the fascial planes, things will lock down and cause this tension to happen, which is essentially a manipulation of the nervous system to create that tension that is not provided there by structural foundations of strength to create stability, not muscle length that is a symptom of that creating intention. So my advice would be to see a practitioner who's qualified and have a little bit of a play around with certain exercises. Avoid stretching. There's a lot that you can do with the whole complex which needs a very guided approach, but I thought I'd clear up that main issue to start off with, which is going to create a theme for me, which is understanding pelvic position, and especially for practitioners and coaches to be able to coach it, which is the most important thing, because it is a huge gap and missing component in all athletes and general populations: anatomy, physiology, biomechanics, and ultimately well-being. So for now, I'm Sam Portland from Sport and Training and Fitness. Don't forget to check out the podcast, Sports Talks, understanding the people behind the post. Find me at Sport and Fit Instagram, Sportland_TNF at Twitter, Sport and Training and Fitness on Facebook. All the links are provided. Feel free, shout out any questions, anything that you like, and I will do my best to cover that for you.